My name's Adele Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to this episode of Legally Clueless podcast. Thank you so much for rocking with the fam. If you are an OG member, I've got nothing but love for you. And if this is your first time listening to this podcast, audio episodes like this go out every single Monday. And you can also check out our YouTube channel. We have a new series out, which is Legally Clueless After Hours. It has everything to do with love. So I think it's going to be something you'll enjoy. And you can find a link to our YouTube in the show notes. You can also head over to our website, sign up to join our official family and get our newsletter. I lost my train of thought for 2 seconds there. I'm sorry. And then finally, join our cozy corner of the internet. We're on Instagram at Legally Clueless Africa. This, as you can tell from the title, is I was going to use the word interesting, but that's not the word. I'm really scared about sharing this episode because I am going back to just like unfiltered honesty about certain things in my life, and I feel like I haven't had the space to do that in the podcast just because we've had such wonderful storytellers. And so it feels very different. Oh, so different, my friends. So different. So as you can tell from the title, I am now bald. I went bald in New York. I've just gotten back home from New York, and it was a fantastic trip. It was the first time in New York that I thoroughly enjoyed my trip start to finish. My previous New York trips, at a point I felt, hey, this is too noisy. Oh, I'm super homesick. But this time I really enjoyed myself. Like, to the point I was even thinking if I could earn many more millions, I could live in New York. I really could. I just love how much space there is for creativity there. And I just met the most amazing people on this trip. Some I'd met before, but we just reconnected on such a deeper level. So let's go from the very beginning. I think I'm coming out of like a rough patch, if I'm being very honest with myself, or like navigating through it. And it's been a long, rough patch, like on and off since probably end of 2021, somewhere there. 2022 was just shit. And now it's like pivoted. I have made progress, but I'm still in the roughness of this patch. Going through all of that thoroughly stressed me. And my body responds to stress almost immediately. My eczema will flare up. It's currently flared up. I want to say probably the worst it's been in a while. But something else that started happening at the onset of this rough patch was like, maybe not the onset, like even before I consciously acknowledged what was happening around and inside me, my hair started falling out. And initially it would fall out, like it would thin and fall out and then grow back okay. So I knew something was strange, but I wasn't like super concerned. But then it started falling out and growing back more sparsely populated. I don't know if that makes sense. I was very concerned and went to a couple of doctor's appointments, and the root cause was stress, just stress. And I couldn't turn off the stress. And even now, like the rough patch I'm kind of trying to navigate, I'm really hoping not to cry in this episode. So if you hear like weird laughter, it's like me trying to divert my emotions from the tears. But even now, I'm like navigating the rough patch, making strides and then falling back, making strides and falling back. I'm so tired. And it's not like tired in a physical or emotional sense. My soul is tired. My soul is tired. And, I'm pushing through. And if you can relate to this, like, as I've said in previous episodes, like maybe we can lean on each other virtually, strength wise. But like, yeah, I'm pushing through. I'm showing up for what I need to show up. I'm working. I'm finding moments of joy, even in this. But I'm feeling like my soul is tired. That's like the only explanation. Anyway, so hair starts falling out, growing back sparsely populated, and I just kept wearing wigs. I've always loved wigs. I've found wigs to be props, right? Like you could play a character and you could go fun, you could go crazy with colors while being healthy in terms of like what you apply on your hair. And so I've always seen wigs as props. But now all of a sudden during this time, the wigs evolved and they became a cover-up, which to date, I'm still thoroughly uncomfortable with because that's not what I love most about wigs. I love that they're a prop and they should be fun and obnoxious and colorful and not trying to mimic your natural hair, which is where I am now with my wigs because I've been using them as like a cover-up. And in relationships, I would find it very hard to trust someone enough to open up. In fact, my last relationship, I feel like I overstayed. I should have left so much earlier. But there were many reasons I overstayed. But definitely on there was this hair situation where I felt like I'm not attractive enough without the wig. But I also don't want to wear the wig. And I don't want to scare this guy off. And I'm just not attractive without this wig. But since this guy is here and he's taking me as is with this weird look and these constant wigs, I'm just gonna stay with him. I'm just gonna stay with him. Definitely that was one of my reasonings. And this is a space of like no shame. So even if you hear this and you're like, what the heck? That's ridiculous. Just maybe keep that to yourself because this is a space of no shame. And I don't see any shame in me having those insecurities because I'm human. In my current push, whatever it is, I one day had the guts to open up. And God bless this guy. He held my hand before and was just like cheering me on for me to get to the point where I'd let go of the wigs. Anyway, I would hide my hair from him. And so one day I opened up and I showed it before the great shave that's coming up later in the episode. And around the same time, we've kind of like also been navigating a rough patch. Those points like in relationships where it's just like, tearing through combined shadow work. Does that make sense? And I rationally know it has nothing to do with my hair. Absolutely rationally know that. And these are things that even, conversations we've had. But there is that small voice in my head that is fueled by different parts of my insecurities that is like, I wonder if this is the reason and this is one of the issues. Even though rationally I know it's not, but like my insecurities are at an all-time high. And that coupled with like my soul exhaustion is just like a recipe for shenanigans. Anyway, so last year I went to New York in September. And while there, I met this beautiful, bald, baddie. Her name is Roshie, and it was such a beautiful night. I've talked about it in previous episodes. We went to, we had an event for the book I co-wrote in this lipstick bar, and we made our own lipsticks, and I named my lipstick Adhiambo, and it was just so beautiful. It's a beautiful shade of red. And Roshie was the host, and it was my first time meeting her. My co-author organized all of this because she lives in New York. I just really loved her. She has this fierce bald head, and her energy is so pure and so right. I instantly clicked with this absolute stranger with a beautiful bald head. And I remember even then telling her, I really want to go bald. I want to get to that point because, my hair is it's just no more. It's not what I knew, and seeing it every day in its stressed condition is like a reminder that I betrayed my body by getting stressed and not controlling that. And, that just kind of like, I wanted the hair gone. So I told her about this. We had a beautiful night. I've told you about this night. Maybe I didn't mention her, but it's the night we went to watch Burna Boy in New York. Afropunk was on, and Burna Boy came on, and I had smoked something incredible. Hey, honesty. It was raining, and the rainwater was just like pouring over us, although we had like an umbrella. And his music, it was from the album I love, and it was just spiritual. And there's one of my favorite songs of his, Bank on It. He performed it, and I was just like, it was like I was in church with myself. Does that make sense? Like really meeting myself so deeply in that moment. And then we went to this like Kenyan party, more shenanigans were inhaled. And I just had the time of my life. And it was also the night, leaving that party, got into a cab, and I just got my intuition just kind of like told me to message my uncle Peter. And I messaged him how much I loved him and how much I missed him. It was just such a random ass message, but bless him, he was someone still so in touch with his feelings, and he sent me an amazing message back, and we had a beautiful conversation. And then he died 2 weeks later. But yeah, that night was a wonderful night, and I just really bonded with Roshie. And so first, I want to introduce you to her. So listen to this.
Hey, this is Roshie, microphone shared. I love it. 2006, Oklahoma. I go to Oklahoma. I'm there for 3 years because, I'm with family. I'm acclimatizing. But initially for me, I was actually very tight. I'm like, why am I not going to New York? At this point, I'm a teen. I was like, 17, 18. So, and that's when the gym was so kumbeni under 18. Hey. So my siblings used to go like, I think because we were in Oklahoma at the time. And in Oklahoma, I loved it. But I knew where my heart wanted to be. And what I was doing there was not it. And I was just like, my heart was just like, New York is calling you. And it's been, because I've always wanted to do this fashion thing since I was a very young girl. When I decided it's fashion, because I love art, but I never share much about my art, but it's connected to the fashion. So what I want to do is bring them together. So I left Oklahoma, got on the car and just drove. I didn't even have a GPS. I had a MapQuest, the ones you're printing out. It sounds so archaic saying, yeah, right now. Because I was like, what do you even do? What is that? Yeah, what is that? Like, what is MapQuest? What did you print? Are people printing? It's like faxing. Like who uses that? So I did that, and I remember just driving and following the route all through the states, all those states until I got to Maryland, and I linked up with my brother. And then from there I was in in Baltimore, Maryland from 2009 until 2015. And then 2015 July, because that was another one, because I started being so comfortable in Maryland. And the same brother was like, he could me. I remember one day he hit me up. He's like, so what's the plan now? Because everyone knows in my family, and God bless them, they're so supportive. And I'm like, so you're here. Okay, what's your game plan? Because we've been hearing about this New York. You've sang about it forever to a point where everyone is even invested in it. I remember it was 2014, and he was like, you need to come up with a plan. Just tell yourself, because once you start having kids and all these things, life happens and you'll probably feel very bad. And I always kind of give him props. So I'm like, thank you so much, Debbie, because, you did that. You pushed that in me. So I made that plan. I was like, a year from now, I'll leave. I'll move to New York. And that's what I did. I saved up. And a year later, I got on two of my brothers helped me. I packed my things and up to New York I came. No idea what I was going to do. All I knew was like, I'm going to do fashion. At the time, I had my blog that I'd started in 2012. So I used that to just kind of have my finger on the pulse, of what's going on in the industry, the trends, the styles. And I enjoyed writing. So I would write stories and kind of put it with what I'm wearing and what I'm wearing. Because I also noticed my style at the time. And as much as I'm not super trendy, and I'm not also classical, but I'm in between. And it's different. Even my path has always been different. That's why the name Unconventional came up, because, I just don't conform. I'll do what I want to do. And, hopefully it's aligned with the path that also God has for me. I always say, like, I'm being held. Like, Mkono Abwana, that's one of my favorite jams. Mona Mkono Abwana, like just being held and just, like walking in faith and just believing that things will work out, because that has always been my North Star, right? So I am in New York in 2015, no jobs, nothing. And I'm like, okay, and then I know the hiring process takes like forever. So I'm applying for jobs, nothing's panning out. And I was like, I'll get one of the jobs that I know I can do. I mean, like front desk, hotel. Yeah, I can do that. Hello, checking in. Welcome, me and you, Keith, full person. Why not? So I started working in the hospitality industry while I'm trying to hustle fashion jobs, and then trying to schedule photographers from Craigslist so that they can shoot for my blog. So I get a job, and one of the jobs that I'd gotten was downtown here. That's why I remember this area really well. So in that, I'm also interning. I'm not being paid anything. It's just a fashion gig. I'm steaming clothes, putting clothes in like this. I had like a few things I was doing. 3 months I did this. And then another time I worked with a guy who's really big on leather. And he makes like amazing leather suits and just great work. So it was just pockets of where I'm trying to find myself in this footing until in 2018. So in between that, I'm like setting myself up. And then now in 2018, I got my big break. That's when I landed the job at Chanel. And then now at Chanel, I was there working quality and in after sales and working different teams. And that was it was my introduction to like elevated luxury. So yeah, that has been the journey so far. And then in 2023, started last year, I started feeling like, all right, it's time to next chapter. Because for me, I was like, when you come up to 5 years, for me, 5 years is something very powerful. And then something happened in 2018. I lost my brother, and we were very, very close. And, I feel like this was part of because, growing up in Kenya, like, everyone had their own dreams and would share ours and everything. So even New York, he brought me up here like in 2015. So for me, I think this would have been his, even his moment too, because we celebrate each other. And he passed away in April of 2018. And then in August of 2018, I got this job. So I didn't get to share it with him but I always felt like his spirit was there. He was just so vivacious and vibrant, like yeah, like it was like, and he would have been like till this day I still hear him like my biggest hype man. So when we were coming up to his 50th anniversary this year, like I started feeling it last year, like, okay, it's time to venture out, it's time to grow differently. So after you stay some time somewhere for so long, it becomes part of your identity, you become rooted in it. But for me, I was like, this is not it, there's more. And whatever I needed to gain from this space, and the space that I really enjoyed in working with people that I came to care about, it's time for the next chapter. And now 2023 is here, and I just took the leap, and I was like, all right, we're out. And we left. And it had been very scary. So many tears, you doubt yourself. But I believe it's the best decision I've made so far, because what I wanted to do also in terms of how I wanted to grow my brand, the stories I wanted to tell. I was like, it's find that footing. And now in 2023 in September, I hope we have a conversation 2 years from now and we pick up from here and I'll tell you everything because I have all these ideas that I want to kind of come together. So it's just trying to set myself up for that success,
So that's a bit about Roshie. I just randomly started recording on my recorder as we were having a conversation because I thought, I want to really bare my soul to my family on this podcast, and I want to be able to capture the journey of that. So this year, I went to New York again, and Roshie and I met again, and we were at this very formal setting. It was a round table for very serious things, and I pulled her to the side and I said, I want to do it. I want to shave my head bald, and I want to do it while I'm here. We had such a deep moment. We both had balancing tears, and we were like, we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this during this trip. I was telling her I'm going through an awakening of, and not the beautiful kinds, if those exist. It's a fighting for me awakening, and the hair has to go. Like, I want to be bald. I want to be free of anything. I just want like a clean slate, and I just want to like get rid of it. And so anyway, so she said we were going to meet later, and we were like, okay, we'll talk about it then. Let's get back to this very formal round table and get our work done, and we'll get back. But before I get back to my story, I want you to learn more about when Roshie went bald and why.
Well, I was in high school. I always had short hair. I always had short hair in high school. And when I left high school, and I came to the States, that was right around that 2006, 2007, 2008. Let me tell you, I did all the Rihanna hairstyles. She dropped a new album, new hairstyle. Roshie had it. I had the short with the mane. I had the red hair, the only girl in the world. I had the blonde. I did all the weaves and wigs. And then I think right around when I started the blog, that's what it was. I started the blog in 2012. And for that year, I just kind of felt like I wanted to wear my fits, and I would wear African fits. And I'm just like, it's just not connecting. I felt like it was just something was off. Like, there's no way I can rock it the way I wanted to rock it. And I was just like, I've shaved my hair before. So at the time I had box braids. I did cornrows. And I was just like, something was not gelling. And then hair is just so expensive, because I was spending a lot on like bundles of hair. I'm like 22, 24, and then make sure they're dyed and they're ombre. And I'm like, it's nice, it's beautiful. But for me, I started feeling like, okay, it's telling me this is not for us. You have to figure out something else. So right around 2013, I remember, I think we're going into the 1-year anniversary now of my blog. And I was just like, this is not doing it. I'd done the braids, and then we'd gone vacation to DR or someplace, and then I'd gotten to the water, and then braids came back. They were smelling. Look, it's like, oh my God, what is this? I'm like, what is it a sewage? I beg on my hands. It was just the salt water, and it's like very menganda. Like, I don't know if food has gone bad. Plus, like, I can't even explain that. Anyway, it's just horrible. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. So I remember getting home, and I'd shaved my head. It was just this big afro. At the time I was rolling with my friend, and we're driving down the street, and I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do next for my hair. I remember seeing a barber shop. They have those red and blue things that were spinning and spinning. And let me tell you, I think I saw it, and then it registered, and then it took like a couple of seconds, and I just busted a UE. And I was like, I'm going to that barber shop. And I walked in. I remember my friend saying, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing it. I think we're shaving it all off. And I was like, I want it as, actually, I put it was, I want it as close shaved as my forehead. I don't want to see hair at all down to the ground. So I remember when I sat down, and the barber just put the whatever what do they call it? Like the little thing that they put around your neck to start and then they prepared everything. And he was like, are you sure? I was like, so what level do you want? I was like, the lowest of the lowest of the lowest. I was like, so a 2? I was like, no, a 1. I was like, will a 2 be lower? I was like, okay, let me try something first. Let me know if you like it, and then we'll go lower. So he did it. I remember I was like, I can feel the thing. My friend is there, just like, you're really doing this. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm done. As soon as he did it, and he left like a little crop, and then he did it again. And I looked in the mirror and I was like, I want it to look like my forehead. I want them to match skin to skin. I was like, okay. So it's an afro. It's just like, I think it was somewhere like right here. It's just all the way down. And as he was doing it, I don't know if I cried or I teared up, but my God, I felt so light. I was like, wow. I was even sitting up a little bit taller just to look at whatever is coming out of the mirror. And I'm like, oh, it is you. What's up, girl? I was like, oh, look at her. Even like, it's like I was, how you meet someone in surprise and you're seeing each other. So I'm seeing the reflection of my face in the mirror. It's like, even touching it, and he finished, did the alcohol thing. And then it's like, okay, there's no going back. And I'm like, this is it. I remember when even my family saw me, and at first it's like there's the shock, and then over time, you get used to it. It's like they're used to seeing me with the wigs and the braids and everything. But that was back in 2013, and I haven't looked back since. One of my favorite moments was when Wakanda Forever came, and guys would ask me if I got inspired by it. I'm like, no, I think they were inspired by me. I shaved mine in 2013. I've been doing it. And, there were moments even going for interviews where I was kind of like, should I wear a wig? But I said, no, you're going to take me as my true self. Even like when I moved here, like, this is who I am. You're going to embrace me as I am, my authentic self. I'm going to show up as myself. And it's a constant reminder for me to always show up as myself. At first I was just kind of like, maybe they would like it because the style was to do this, to do that. But the interesting thing is, even in New York, they changed their laws. Like, you can't question someone about their hair. So, which is beautiful. You can have dreadlocks, you can have cornrows at work. It's a thing now. But, back in 2015, when I was thinking about it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm just a bald woman going to work. And I was like, will they accept it? Those questions you have. I'm like, but if I accept myself, they'll accept me. And that's how I showed up, even at Chanel. Very bold, very me, and very bold. How did it affect my femininity? Well, for me, I've always been very, very feminine. I've also been very conservative. I grew up in a very Catholic conservative background. And I know that also had its, even the way I style myself, there's a way I present myself that is me, and it's rooted in the femininity. And I just told myself, I'm not going to let hair define that. Like, as soon as you talk to me, you will know. Like, I will not let. And the crazy thing is, some of my style can be a little bit avant-garde. I love a little bit of masculine, feminine, like the big boxy blazer jackets and stuff. I'm like, that's who I'm showing up in the world as. And that's a presentation of me. But who I am is a woman. How I carry myself is extremely feminine. And I don't let that define it. I know I'm bald, even how I style myself, even how I dress. It's just a representation of that. And that's what style is. And the one thing I'll tell you is, the only thing to fear, as I always say, is the voice in your head. I was like the inner roommate. There's this book by Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, a book I highly recommend. And it's chapter 2, because I've listened to that book on audio, like, all the time. Like, and then nowadays it's got to a point where, like, it's something around something, it has that. So the inner voice in your head is called the inner roommate. The one that when you're walking down the street, it's like, oh, look at that, or look at this, why is that looking like that? Because that voice can also turn against you. And my goodness, it's that, and you're like, quiet. What you just have to understand is, like, that's just it. It's a voice in your head, and you can spin it around. The thing is, we just go down that highway, and it's like a roller coaster, and you're just like, you end up even feeling like you don't like yourself. And for me, part of showing up as myself is also loving myself in anything that I come with. Because sometimes, the things we are bullied about are the things we don't like. Like, oh, I don't like my legs because they're so fat. Or you'll be like, oh, I don't like my legs because they're so thin, or they're so long, or I don't like my shoulders because that's the area people shamed you at. So it makes you feel like, oh my God, is this more pronounced? Do I look like this? But in reverse, it's like, I love me. I love all of me and how it comes, and whatever I have, I'm grateful for, because the things I'm saying I don't like, there's someone who woke up and does not have that. And it's a practice. Sometimes there are good days, sometimes there are really bad days, but at the end of the day, shop as myself and just pour love into myself as much as I can, because again, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So if my cup runneth over, I can be able to share it out. And it starts from within. And also cultivating joy in those things, like now what you're doing, like having conversations with people who are in the same space or have gone through a similar experience. Tell me you don't feel like you're alone. Like, I'm like, show me, I'm like, Roshie, today I feel horrible. I feel ugly. I feel like this is happening. I'm like, oh my God, that was me yesterday. And I had these big people on my face. And, being able to connect with people and just be vulnerable about it, because the vulnerability, and I think it's Brené Brown who says it, vulnerability puts a spotlight on shame. So shame, because shame is the one you want to sweep under the rug in darkness. But once it's out and you feel even lighter, and it's like a muscle that you're building. It's a constant practice. If you don't practice it, you won't have it.
So the story continues. We go out for dinner one night, and then we go partying, and Roshie and I kind of like leave the group inside, and they're jamming and partying, and I'm telling her, yo, I'm very serious about this going bald thing. And I was like, do you know any barber shops that are good, blah, blah. And we're talking. And she tells me she shaves herself. And then I just blurt out, do you think you can come and shave me? And she says the most beautiful thing. She says she would be honored to. And I just wanted to like cry, because this is such a big thing for me. And it's a big thing because I truly understand it's like a commitment to myself to honor and to prioritize me and my feelings, to really see myself, to leave spaces that dishonor me, even those that I love, and just to like kind of like a rebirth. And just like a mocking. I don't know if this makes sense. I'm so sorry, I'm getting so emotional. But like a mocking that is like a reminder. Every time the soul gets super exhausted to the point I'm like, whoa, I don't think I can do this. Maybe I can go back to this moment, and remind myself of this commitment and remind myself to keep fighting for me, because nobody's going to do it for me and nobody can. And like I'm in this phase in my life where I'm just like learning how to self-motivate, show up for self, rely on self, sit with self. And it's hard. It's so difficult. Oh, it is so difficult. And yeah, so oof. Where was I even? So it's a Monday evening in New York. I'm staying on Wall Street. It's raining. I'm practicing for the event that really did take me to New York, which is a storytelling event, and I'm performing, so I have to get my story right, and I've made some changes, and I'm trying to concentrate on this, but I keep thinking, Roshie's coming, and she chats me and she's like, okay, I'll be there a little before 7. And then I realize I have to take off this wig in front of this woman who I have gelled with, yes, and has such great energy. But like, I'm scared, terrified. But you know what? I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. And so even like hours before she comes to the hotel room, I'm seated with no wig, right? Because I'm like, maybe I'm gonna get used to it. in time for her for when she comes. And, she arrives around 7 p.m. And when I open the door, she's like, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful." And, it just speaks to even just like female connections. I don't know if men feel this or like other genders feel this, but like there's something so spiritual and so powerful. I just felt so seen by this person who owed me nothing and has traveled across the city. And I remember earlier in the day, I was telling her, "Okay, what do I need to buy? Let me know what I need to buy so that it's easy for you." And she's like, "Don't buy anything. I'm coming with everything." And so she came and we had a bit of a talk. And I'm there on the 12th floor of a beautiful hotel in New York, sitting with another bald woman. And I have no wig on. And I felt so good and so free. Home can be so judgmental. I don't know if this happens in other countries, but I feel like maybe not the entire Kenya, but Nairobi is so judgmental. I mean, just walk in town wearing something expressive, you will see the judgment, you will feel it, you will see the stares. And not only from strangers, like our families, our relationships. I've never not wanted to come home from a trip, but I didn't want to come home this time because I felt seen and not seen at the moments when it mattered. Anyway, so we do this talk and then we move to the bathroom, and it's just so spiritual because she has all like this razor. It's like a funky USB thing that I bought. She sent me all the links, and so I bought my own and I have it. She's like making sure there's a cloth with warm water. She's brought this Aveeno hair, I forget, cream. Yes, cream, I think. Hair shaving cream. And then I sit down and the shaving begins.
Wipe you down a little bit. Yeah. Typically I do this and then just jump into the shower. Okay. But now I have a warm washcloth so I can see where we are. Okay. Okay. Help me.
Oh my goodness. And it's so cool. I need to get one of these.
Yeah, you're definitely getting one of these. And then you get with it comes with the razor blades. Yeah. So I use them. I use at least 2 or 3 shavings because for me it's not a lot of hair at this point. So here we go. I'm trying to do like guys of Kinyozi.
And then how do you so now when you get to the point where because my hair, my scalp is so much more lighter than so what did you do? Is it just constantly being outside and just
Yeah, and then sometimes with this weather you don't even know what you'll get. Yeah. So now for you, you also have this baby hairs of hair. Yeah. So I'll come and do a clean up a little bit and the back here as well. Yeah. And then it will probably be done. Yeah, so after that, there's a way, sometimes when I do my makeup, I have to blend it in. That's why I usually like it to be almost like my scalp, because once now hair has already started growing, so you can already kind of see the shape of it. But I don't like when my hair is super, super grown to a point where I'm now it looks like a tennis ball fuzz. Yeah. So now here I'm just going to come and clean up.
This is so tiny.
And then bend over a little bit. Take over that area. And you have such soft, delicate hair, I can tell.
Oh, my hair is stressed and it just fell out in
Oh my goodness. You know what? It's telling you something as well. Your body is talking to you.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely talking to you. Let's do that as well.
I don't think I've ever gone this bald.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is the first time.
It's like, oh my goodness.
Alright, and then I'll wipe you down because I want to make sure I'm seeing what I'm doing.
And you're so gentle.
Oh, thank you. Let me put this one.
Get a picture of you.
The little ones that I'm looking at.
This is so cool. I'm getting used to it now.
I'm telling you, it's and you're going to go through all the and when that happens, remember grace is the name of the game.
Yeah.
Learn to give yourself so much grace.
Yeah.
It's not easy because we've been taught to
So
not like ourselves like this for so long, and you doing it is just being a rebel. I just decided, you know what?
Yeah.
I will rebel. And actually, you have a really nice head shape.
Everybody says that. And
You
like
have a really nice head shape.
the night I showed my partner my head, and when I was driving, I was like, your mind is so powerful. My mind was telling me how my ears are now too big.
Poking out.
And so when I got home, I went in front of the mirror. I was like, no, like, why were you telling me that in my head? Like, that's not what
happened.
First, I apologize for the audio. We were in a bathroom. Although it's not the worst, and I didn't over process it because I wanted you to hear the hum of the razor or the shaving machine, whatever it's called. I'm new here. I don't know what these things are called. And oh my goodness, I felt so relieved. What do I feel now? I think I feel free. I feel like I want to be alone for a bit. Just to like get to know myself and like the different parts. I want to really get to know them. I've gone through so many changes in like 1 to 2 years that I've just been moving. And so I just kind of like want to get to know me. So this experience was a reminder of that. I do feel beautiful, which is like making me cry more. What the hell? I do feel beautiful, and I just feel like, isn't that strange? We spend so much money, not just on wigs, but if you think of makeup and even clothes, right? To cover up. And then you take it off. Like the entire trip, I wore foundation on one day. And I didn't even like how I looked. So I just stopped wearing it altogether. I mean, I still made sure my eyebrows were balanced. Don't get me wrong. I am still putting in a bit of effort. But it's crazy how, like, even with my skin glows without makeup, without foundation. Oh my God, I love its tone without foundation. What else do I feel? I feel relieved. I feel like I've experienced such kindness from someone who hopefully is going to be a friend, who's Roshie. I feel light. I feel calm. And on the calmness, I'm trying to translate that to my life. And so even with like any rough patches now, I'm kind of just remembering to be calm. And it's strange, this shave just happened, but it's already so transformative. But I'm remembering to pack light so that I preserve the calmness. And today I had like a situation where I just realized I don't know if you've had those situations where you feel like you're not prioritizing yourself. So when an emotion appears inside you and you feel something, you immediately shoot it down and like invalidate it. And so I've realized that I've been doing that in a particular situation for a while. And it's so unfair for me to do that to myself. And so I'm kind of like making those decisions to pack light and to prioritize self, and that my feelings are valid, and certain things that I desire, be it in my career, in life, in friendships, in relationships, they are valid. They are valid. And I have to rub my bald head and kind of like as a reminder to myself of that commitment. Like, we're committed to self, to honor and to prioritize me and my feelings, to really see myself, to leave spaces that dishonor me, even those that I love. My soul is still very tired, but she'll be okay. I really don't know how to end this episode. I just need to go and have myself a really good cry. And I don't have the capacity to send anything your way this week in this moment, but we'll try again next week. But I'm very thankful that you've listened to the very end. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.